Giving me an up-close and personal view. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the JoAnne Powell Show. I'm JoAnne. We're coming to you from the World Center of Broadcast Media, WCOBM.TV, Hollywood. We've got an action-packed show, a lot of things to cover. We're going to start things off with what's happening with the Trump administration. The Trump administration is cracking down on colleges and universities over their admissions policies. Basically, in a bombshell report in the New York Times, it reveals that the U.S. Justice Department plans to investigate and sue colleges over affirmative action admission policies seem to hurt whites. Well, the Times is citing an internal announcement by the U.S. Justice Department. They are looking for attorneys to specifically investigate any of these cases that might exist. At this time, there's not an overwhelming issue, but they want to kind of shift money to this particular area within the U.S. Justice Department. This comes as a shock and a troubling move to those who are supporters of the affirmative action, specifically because about a year ago, the U.S. Supreme Court made a ruling on this very thing, the case from the University of Texas at Austin, which basically said it was okay for you to admit students based on their race or ethnicity when it came to diversifying your campus. So based on that, those who were supporters of affirmative action thought it was okay, it was a done deal. But those who have been fighting against affirmative action when it comes to admission into college campuses and students, if it seems to be discriminatory toward white students, they are hoping that this case or what's going on, they might find a case that might have this go back to the Supreme Court. We'll definitely follow what's happening on this particular case, and there's a lot of other things going on Capitol Hill. Joining me now to discuss this and all the other activities happening in Washington and what is going on in the White House is Bill Snyder. He is a political analyst, and we welcome you back to the show.
Thank you.
There's always something going on within the Trump administration.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. There's other things we're going to get to, but what are your thoughts about this particular action? I mean, it's something that the Supreme Court dealt with last year, and most people thought it was a done deal.
The Supreme Court has dealt with this a number of times.
Yes.
In Texas, as you said, in Michigan. The Supreme Court is very cautious about this. And this is, of course, not a Supreme Court issue right now. It's a Justice Department taking on the responsibility of trying to ensure that there's no discrimination against whites. This plays directly to President Trump's populist base. He got a lot of his support. The core support came from working class, blue collar white voters, many of whom feel aggrieved that they're put at a disadvantage by affirmative action policies. This is an attempt to air those grievances and to try to do something about it.
Now, there's also that they're thinking that this is the banning influence on the president and what's going on in the White House.
Could well be. We know that in the alt-right movement, which Steve Bannon is a part of, affirmative action has long been a grievance. So this is a case where Bannon's influence, I have no evidence of this, but Bannon's influence might be important here.
Yeah, I know that those in the civil rights community are definitely kind of definitely paying attention to what's happening, and it definitely has a wave of concern out there that people, to be diligent and to definitely start paying attention to what's going on in that particular area.
That's right. Now, I can tell you how most Americans feel about affirmative action. They're actually for it, because most Americans, particularly white Americans, believe affirmative action means outreach. It means reaching out to help disadvantaged groups, minorities, women, meet the prevailing standards of competition for admission to universities or for jobs and hiring. But what the critics complain is that it means preferential treatment. It means quotas. It means suspending the standards of competition and telling women and minorities, you don't have to meet the same standards as whites. That's the distinction most Americans make in public opinion, and apparently the Trump administration believes that that distinction is not being made very clear.
Well, I know we'll definitely see what happens, because as of now, there's not an overwhelming amount of cases where that has happened. And I think affirmative action and those the criteria has kind of balanced that out a little bit. It perhaps initially that could have been the case, but I think because of the challenges in court that they've tried to balance it, that if you get in, you still have to meet the certain criteria. But a lot of campuses are trying to be reflective of our nation, which is very diverse, and in order to give students a holistic experience at a university, they want to diversify to make sure that they get a good experience.
And the Supreme Court has acknowledged that diversification is a valid goal, but it can't be the only goal.
Correct.
It can't be the only goal. It has to be one among many. And the court has said, in the Michigan case, they said it's really up to the voters. If the voters want racial minority status or gender to be a factor in hiring, in state contracting, and in admissions, that's okay. But if they don't want it to be a factor, that's okay too. In this case, the court specifically deferred to public opinion.
Okay, we're going to shift to the other big shakeup on Capitol Hill. You have a changing of the guards of sorts. We have a new chief of staff, John Kelly. He's a 4-star general. And one of the first things that he did when he got into office was to get rid of the communications director, which is Anthony Scaramucci, the Mooch.
Scaramucci,
Scaramucci. And one of the things, of course, he was pretty much on the job for about 10 days. He was able to rustle almost everybody's feathers in the White House. His conduct was considered to be unacceptable. So when Kelly got in office, that was one of the first things that he did to try and gain control of what's happening in the White House.
Yes, it's kind of interesting that when Scaramucci was appointed, his principal job was to get rid of Reince Priebus, the White House chief of staff.
Yes.
And he did.
Yes.
And then when Kelly was appointed, his job was to get rid of Scaramucci. And he did. It's a revolving door. In fact, somebody is, one of the late night comedians, I don't remember which one, has put up a website for job seekers who used to work in the White House so they can find another job.
That's interesting, because I had thought about it. Like, can you imagine going in as a communications director or in that position, because you have to buy into what you have to allegedly, because a lot of times people are getting up there, and we're getting accustomed to, which is not necessarily a good thing, that the information that they talk about is not necessarily the truth.
That's right. This is a White House that has been in chaos. Now, the idea of Kelly's appointment, he's taking charge, he's a military person. Good luck to him, because Donald Trump is still the president, and he'll still do things the way he wants to do them. And on more than a few occasions, he has contradicted himself. He has contradicted members of his own party, the leadership in Congress. He clearly wants to keep pushing efforts to repeal the Obamacare law. Republicans in the Senate are saying, we're not going to do that. We've tried it. It doesn't work. Let's move on. The president's not ready to move on. And he is the one who really runs the White House.
Yes. Well, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about another big bombshell shaking up the White House, and that is the Washington Post report on the fact that the president helped to craft the misinformation or the misstatement that he gave to his son regarding his meeting with the attorney, the Russian attorney. And we'll talk more about that with Mr. Snyder when we come back, so don't go away.
If you are an adult that began college and has not finished your college degree, let me put it to you straight. If your lifestyle and your standard of living is not becoming to you, then you should be coming to us, Oakwood University Elite Program. We are the fast, flexible adult degree completion program for the busy adult, like you.
Register today. Go to oakwoodleap.com or call 256-726-7098. It's time to leap.
I'm JoAnne with the JoAnne Powell Show. You're watching the World Center of Broadcast Media, WCOBM Hollywood.
Thanks to Oakwood University and the LEAP program, I have now a college degree. So to the Spanish-speaking members of this community who feel that the LEAP program is something you should consider, I would say, ánimo a la universidad. Considere el programa LEAP de Oakwood University.
Go to oakwoodleap.com or call 256-726-7098.
Seize the day scuba for your best scuba experience above and below the sea. You'll find friendly staff, experienced PADI certified instructors, and state-of-the-art scuba equipment and gear. Join our dive club and we'll help you plan memorable scuba excursions. Immerse yourself. Seize the Day Scuba, serving Southern California. Call 949-220-0500 to create your scuba experience.
When I first started into the program, yes, I had doubts. I was really impressed with Oakwood University, with the faculty and the staff and the student body. It was a really good experience, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who was thinking about going back and finishing their degree.
Register today. Go to oakwoodleap.com or call 256-726-7098.